سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, thank you for coming to the once again held in London International Takaful Summit. At the very onset of this 10th edition, I'd like to pay tribute to the person who has been behind the International Takaful Summit for a while now, 10 years in a row. And he has steadfastly overcome many issues, problems, hindrances with great success. Indeed, there are many conferences and workshops and master classes around the world on Takaful, but when one says somewhere in the world Takaful, the Takaful Summit, almost by default, one thinks about the International ITS in London. So I ask the respective members of the audience to please let's all together join our hands together and thank Iqbal Asariya for this accomplishment. Okay, you're there. And of course, second but not least, Norton Rose and Suzanne, that for the last 10 years, actually, almost 10 years, has very graciously providing facilities for the master class. And thank you for your very generous hospitality, Suzanne. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. This said, let's start. We have really a fantastic lineup of speakers who will today and tomorrow dissect each and every aspect of the Takaful industry. So by way of introduction, I'd just like to share with you a few thoughts about, in order to frame, if you want, Takaful together with Islamic finance. Often Takaful is dubbed the toddler, the younger brother of Islamic finance. And indeed, it shares with Islamic finance its two major challenges, namely time and values. Time and values. These are the two issues that are really besetting both Islamic finance and Takaful. Takaful needs time to develop. It's a bottom-up approach. And it has to grow slowly. Think of the cooperatives, insurance cooperatives in Italy or Germany. It took 300 to 400 years to get where they are now. You need affinity groups, you need sharing values, you need this and that. And it takes time. But nowadays, we live in a world where there is no time available any longer for nothing. So this is a major issue. And this issue applies to Islamic finance as well. We are all boasting about the $2 trillion mark that has been reached by the industry. But a few weeks ago, a very much respected UK-based consultancy issued a report that gave a slight different perspective. They quite conservatively put the Islamic assets ready measurable, and that most importantly have been available for the last 20 years, at least 20 years, to about 11 trillion. There, this is Islamic money, for sure. So you see that there is a very slow movement in Islamic finance as well, because we got to the $2 trillion in, 15 years, where we should have been perhaps at 10 or 11 trillion dollars. So this was the first issue. The second is values, a key issue nowadays. Islamic finance and Takaful's modus operandi are value-based, like it or not like it, is embedded, is a fact. And the right balance must be found between legitimate commercial interest and the very fabric of Takaful, with otherwise the risk of losing legitimacy. For instance, more and more critical voices are raised questioning the Takaful essence of the system implemented in Saudi Arabia. Iran is a question mark. And also the increasing use of conventional Takaful companies is raising a lot of eyebrows and question marks. Again, certainly, the same applies to Islamic finance. It's a business, not a charity, but one should, to be frank with you, keep an eye on its purpose and goals. Let me tell you that if the century-old character of Mecca, which in lay Western terms, I would say composed of A-graded buildings belonging to the national heritage, has been totally wiped out with Islamic mode of financing, one should question what is the purpose of Islamic finance. Secondly, another example about the need to focus on goals. We are told, a few weeks ago, we were told by Oxfam in Oxford, and Oxfam used Credit Suisse figures, that the richest 1% now has as much wealth as the rest of the world combined. Or, and I thought it was a typo or a misprinting, but it's not, that the richest 62 people in the world has as much wealth as the poorest half of the global population. So we compare 62 to 3.5 billion. And where is Islamic finance in these things? Where is the stance of Islamic finance? Values, timing and values. Those are the two issues that are besetting Islamic finance and Takaful as well. What lies in store for the future? It really depends on us, on the practitioners, and how we decide to operate. There are three very important drivers originating from the Muslim world that give us a very rosy picture. The first one is a sector that is booming. It's not the 2%, it's not the 3%. It's a sector that represents roughly 20% of world sales, of total sale in the world. I'm referring to the halal sector. Talking about food and beverages, about 20 to 21%, 1 out of 5 transactions in the world nowadays are halal, everywhere. Talking about modest Islamic fashion, modest dressing, talking about halal travel, booming, and talking about a very interesting sector that is really skyrocketing is cosmetic. There are a impressive rate of growth in the cosmetic industry. And very interesting, these halal cosmetics are seen by the market as an upgrade, improvement of bio-cosmetics. So it means that the market is not only for Muslims, but is widening up. Islamic finance and Takaful are not playing a role in this 20% market in the world. And we're talking about, hundreds of billions of dollars of sales. So this is a potentially very important driver. Zakat, the second driver. Zakat has been around for a while, we know it. It's compulsory for us Muslims. But now, a very interesting things happen, is that more and more Sharia scholars are allowing the use of zakat within the Takaful framework for different approaches, for different things. And I was in Khartoum a few days ago, and we heard about a very interesting program implemented by Bank of Khartoum for microfinance and Takaful. And this is also, it's real money. Zakat is real money. And of course, last but not least, is trust, is awqaf. Awqaf is impossible to measure everywhere in the world. The wealth of the world, the wealth of the Muslim world is an awqaf. No doubt about that. And we count it by trillions. So the three drivers are very strong, are very strongly putting forward a rosy scenario. And there are three other drivers, less powerful in our countries, in the West, I would say, that are also helping, in my opinion, the development of the market. Disintermediation, financial disintermediation at Basel III. I mean, banks across Europe are less and less banks, and more they are accompanying their clients to raise capital in the market, directly raising capital in the market. This is a very powerful driver towards Islamic finance and Takaful. Equity funding is the second one. And certainly, last but not least, impact investing. Impact investing, it's certainly an area where Islamic finance and Takaful are intertwined. This said, my last comment I wanted to share with you is that my deep belief, being in this business for a while now, is that one of the key areas of development is our part of the world. Not sure how to define it. Western countries, EU, Europe, G7, but this is a part of the world where we should experience a powerful growth of Islamic finance and Takaful. Why so? At least there are a number of reasons, but I want to share one reason with you, is that Muslim middle class is here. The richest are in the Gulf, the poorest are in the Pacific Rim area, but the middle class that has purchasing power, the Muslim middle class which has purchasing power, is in Europe. We're talking about professionals, people like us sitting in this room, numbering between 23, 25, 27 million people. They belong to societies where they want to play a role, they are demanding for their own way of doing business, and you have the feeling that there's really a slow but strong wave coming out of this market. And this is shown also, for example, by Al-Bayan, hopefully crossing the channel very soon, opening up somewhere in Europe, by the newly established Islamic bank regulated by BaFin in Frankfurt, and two other things that will happen in Southern Europe very soon. Okay, this said, let's start. And let's follow the program. And it's my pleasure to call upon both Dr. Adel Mounir and Omar Gouda to please come here to the floor and share your thoughts. Thank you.
Good morning. Honorable delegates, distinguished participants and guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am indeed honored to be given the opportunity to join you and celebrate the 10th anniversary of the annual Takaful Summit. The number of contributors has increased a year after the other, and the event organizers are doubling their effort to ensure the success of the event. To this end, the summit has achieved its main objectives: to be an effective platform for the Takaful leaders to share their experiences and views at many levels of development. The successful story of the Takaful industry is still telling its story. The story started about 30 years ago. Now the Takaful is growing positively, steadily, significantly as a means of answering the market needs. The industry executives recognize the penetration of Takaful. They realize the importance of implementing good governance practice to facilitate compliance and devise well-balanced investment strategies to realize growth and sustainability. Equally, the big conventional reinsurers, such as Mounir Re set up Retakaful operations in Malaysia. Also, the micro Takaful start growing, and we can find operating companies in 8 F.A.I.R countries: Bangladesh, Indonesia, Kenya, Kuwait, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Sudan, and the United Arab Emirates. However, in contrast to the conventional insurance, the Takaful landscape remains less developed. With a smaller asset base and more varied opportunities, the Takaful industry should brace itself for new and greater challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, the Takaful industry is growing in Afro-Asian countries. The GCC and Asian are expected to continue to lead the global Takaful markets with their substantial growth. Emerging markets within Europe and Africa are also showing significant growth potential. In the African region, especially, Sudan leads the Takaful market, recording gross Takaful contribution at 23.4 average growth rate during the period 2009 to 2013. In addition, there are other African countries which show their sentiment to further spur the Takaful industry through various proactive regulatory initiatives. For instance, Kenya's Insurance Regulatory Authority, IRA, plans to increase insurance penetration from 3.1 in 2012 to 3.5% by 2018 via the issuance of the guideline and time frame for the development of the Takaful industry in Kenya. Meanwhile, Nigeria has also released guidelines and registration requirements for Takaful alongside the guideline for Takaful operation in 2013. Elsewhere, Tunisia has incorporated a dedicated chapter in its insurance code for legislative framework governing Takaful operation in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, Takaful has witnessed a tremendous growth across the globe over the last decade, representing one of the fastest growing sectors in the global financial system. Globally, the Takaful market was estimated to continue its double-digit growth momentum of about 14% in 2014, reaching around $26 billion at end of 2015 and projected to surpass $42 billion by 2020. However, the industry continues to face numerous challenges and insurers in many aspects, notably low penetration rate, shortage of human capital, inadequate technology capabilities, ineffective governance practice, supportive regulatory environment, and the lack of innovation in business model for new market niches. Also, one of the most important challenges facing the industry is the readiness of the industry players to formulate and execute successful strategies in response to new market conditions and rapidly adapt to capture new emerging opportunities that will reignite growth levels. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to highlight the importance of the subject and thank the distinguished speaker who will share their valuable experience in this field. Thank you and God bless you. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates and guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. On behalf of the International Federation of Takaful and the Islamic Insurance Companies, IFTI, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 10th International Takaful Summit 2016 as one of the biggest gatherings of Takaful and Retakaful practitioners. Since the 7th Summit in Cairo, 2013, IFTI became one of the main supporters of this premier Takaful event. This is a part of its objectives to promote the spirit of cooperation among Takaful and the Islamic insurance operators in the globe. IFTI has its main goal of enhancing the scientific approach and supporting researchers as the basis to developing the Takaful industry. This is through setting the industry standards and focusing on the principle of the Islamic Sharia from legal, technical, financial, and administrative aspects. During the last decade, the International Takaful Summit and its organizer are very successful to address the developing needs of the industry. And this year, the summit comes with the theme, Pathways for Matching Islamic Finance Assets to Takaful, which I believe is a very important topic in the rapid environment and real challenges facing the industry. I am quite sure that our distinguished moderators panelists, and delegates will discuss, highlight, and add of their valuable experience, shares, and exchange knowledge for more understanding of this topic. This is paving the way for better development of the Takaful industry. At the end, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our distinguished guests, delegates, and participants, and wish them all the success, as well as to thank the organizer, especially Professor Iqbal Asariya, for their efforts in organizing such successful event, wishing them a continued success, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, Adel. Thank you, Omar. And now it's my pleasure to call upon Professor Iqbal Asariya to please come to the floor and moderate session 1 and 2.